Robert knew from an early age that he wanted to act, so in the early 80s, when his parents split up, Robert followed his father to Hollywood. Small film roles and an intense romance followed.
One of the films that Robert was in when he was younger was Firstborn. He met Sarah Jessica Parker when he was filming that. They were co-stars, and they fell for each other, and they had a long relationship after that.
So I think they had a lot in common in that, you know, they had grown up fast. They had been working as actors from childhood. They sort of had a similar experience. You know, they clearly appreciated each other and understood what each other were going through because they were so young when they were experiencing fame.
Robert's fame continued to grow. In 1985, he was cast in Weird Science by John Hughes. The role got him into the group of up-and-coming 80s actors known as the Brat Pack.
I think a lot of people first noticed Robert Downey Jr. In Weird Science, as it did lump him into that whole sort of Brat Pack scene. He was seen as a peripheral member of the Brat Pack, which seems, you know, somewhat strange these days.
Robert Downey Jr. was the coolest of the Brat Pack. Let's just say that, you know, he was a Brat Packer who really stood out.
In 1985, at the height of Brat Pack fame, Anthony Michael Hall joined the new cast of Saturday Night Live. Robert followed his friend to New York City, and he also became a cast member of the live comedy show.
I think it's fair to say that Robert Downey Jr. joined SNL at something of a low point. And there are actually some remarkably talented people in that cast, but for some reason, it just didn't gel.
If you look back on it now, it's hard to even believe, with Robert Downey's career, that he spent a year on Saturday Night Live doing, you know, these sketches, sketch comedy, and really bad sketch comedy at that.
But aside from that, I have no complaints. I really don't.
After a disappointing year on Saturday Night Live, Downey returned to Los Angeles. In 1987, he landed his first lead in The Pickup Artist. The film was written and directed by another newcomer, James Toback.
The first thing I noticed about him was how quick he was in his expressions. There was a liveliness in the eyes, and a physical shiftiness, and a readiness to spring that made me feel that you never quite knew what he was going to do next. All of the scenes that involve physical grace, he's very sparky and lively. There was great kind of dexterous moving made to avoid having his penis eaten off by the German Shepherd that Vanessa Williams was walking on the street.
Hi. Haircut. I couldn't help noticing this great outfit and the way you walk, which is very exciting. And your terrific haircut, which I love, and of course this great-looking dog. Hi.
And had that dog had a neck that stretched up another couple of inches, Robert's experience on The Pickup Artist would have been far less pleasant than it was.
Never one to take the easy option, Robert decided to challenge himself and his audience, playing the less than glamorous Julian Wells in Less Than Zero.
Less Than Zero came out in 1987, and it was sort of marketed towards the Brat Pack fans. It was, you know, your favorite people, Andrew McCarthy, Jamie Gertz, Robert Downey Jr., and it seemed like, oh, this is great, I love these people, I'm going to go see this movie, and then you saw it, and it was really disturbing.
I think that the Brat Pack took on Less Than Zero as a way of trying to show the world that they were serious actors, but could they actually pull it off? In the case of Robert Downey Jr., the answer is most certainly yes.
Robert Downey Jr. plays this kid, really, who's handed everything by his father and just goes through it, becomes addicted to drugs and, you know, sort of destroys himself in many ways.
I just want you guys to know that I know how much you've helped me. You know what I mean? You've helped me when I didn't deserve help, and you've been so kind to me no matter how much I keep poking on. This is why I'm going to make it up to you for everything. All right? I'm going to deserve your friendship.
What few people knew was that the role hit close to home for Robert, who had a deepening addiction to alcohol and drugs.
I know that at one point, the director said to him, I want you and Andrew to go out, and I want you to get into some sort of trouble that Andrew McCarthy has to save you from, so that you guys really feel that. And I guess that Robert got like completely smashed and was in the middle, like on Santa Monica Boulevard, like howling at the moon and peeing or something, and the cops came and arrested him, and Andrew McCarthy had to, like, sort of, you know, bail him out.
Roger Ebert said how real his performance was, and in retrospect, you think, well, you know, it's not surprising in some ways.
Few outside of Robert's circle of friends knew how bad his drug use had become offset. As long as he kept churning out quality work, even fewer would notice.
I can think of singers and entertainers that the people around them really don't care what they're using. They want to know, can you get up there and sing that song? And once you've done that, you've given us our pound of flesh, then what you do aside from that, that's your business.
I always imagine that it's really easy to blow it if you don't work your ass off.
He was definitely a functioning addict. You can't point to movies and say, oh, look at that movie, you know, like he was sleepwalking through that movie. He was a well-functioning addict, actually.
Sooner or later, it's going to get you physically, or you're going to display some type of a behavior. Something sooner or later will unravel.
In 1987, following his critically acclaimed role in Less Than Zero, Robert Downey Jr. was the toast of Hollywood. But behind the scenes, his drug use was spiraling, leaving him at odds with longtime sweetheart Sarah Jessica Parker.
He was dating Sarah Jessica Parker, and she left him because she just couldn't deal with him anymore.
Shortly after his split with Sarah Jessica, Robert met Deborah Faulkner. After a whirlwind 42-day courtship, they married. Robert was also cashing in on his stardom, but not necessarily picking the best films.
After Less Than Zero, Robert Downey Jr. appeared in several high-profile movies, Air America, Soap Dish. Some of them did well, some of them did not. Very few of them sort of remember today as particularly good movies.
In the late 80s, he is taking roles and he's distracted by other things in his life, and it's a tragedy.
Few would have believed at that point that Downey was on the verge of the part of a lifetime. In 1991, Sir Richard Attenborough was casting his biopic of Charlie Chaplin. Hollywood A-listers Robin Williams, Billy Crystal and Dustin Hoffman read for the lead, but to the surprise of Hollywood, Attenborough wanted Robert.
People know what Charlie Chaplin looks like, the movements of Charlie Chaplin. It's a really tough role for any actor to conquer. And the studio did not want to go with Robert Downey Jr.
I mean, Robert Downey Jr. at that point was really known for being on Saturday Night Live and some 80s teen movies. He wasn't the kind of person you'd think would be headlining a Richard Attenborough epic. I mean, he wasn't a British actor, he wasn't a theatrically trained actor, he was a complete shot in the dark in terms of casting.
The studio ended up backing out of the film, which left Attenborough to go and raise his financing himself. And it took 10 months for him to do it. And while he was working on that, Robert had all this free time, and he read everything he could about Chaplin, and he even learned how to play tennis left-handed, how to play the violin left-handed. He threw himself into this role, and it really says a lot about his dedication to his job as an actor.
Robert would later say that he cleaned up his act for Chaplin. Downey delivered a stunning performance in the role, earning himself an Oscar nomination for Best Actor.
I don't know what to think. It's my first time.
I think it was really to Richard Attenborough's credit to stick with Robert Downey Jr. There's this scene in Chaplin in the beginning of the movie, and he's just like falling down and doing all these acrobatic, slapstick kind of comedy things, and he just nails it.
Really, sir, this is too much. Kindly remember, sir, this is a place of entertainment.
Chaplin really showed that when handed those roles where he's required to be, you know, someone completely different, then he can do it with aplomb.
The 1992 Best Actor Oscar ended up going to Al Pacino for Scent of a Woman, but Robert's nomination got him noticed by some of the best directors, including Robert Altman. Altman cast him in his 1993 Shortcuts.
actors love to work with Robert Altman. You know, if you say to Robert Altman, I have an idea for this character, he'll talk to you about it. It's a collaborative process. He lets you go where you want to go with it. And for somebody like Robert Downey Jr., that's probably perfect.
If you give him free rein, this is the key, and this is actually a message to every director who will ever direct him. Shut up, back off, and enjoy what he gives you. I don't know any other actor where it's as clear-cut. Let him show you what he wants to show you, and don't impose anything on him unless he's open to it and asks for it.